looks like Noda is going to be your winner of this Portuguese Grand Prix. Is your champion. JJ splits the middle, gets past both drivers. Alright, and if you stuck with us this long, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Yeehaw, giddy up, hop on Horsey McHorse, call your Danny Rick, and let's jump on for another great race here at COTA. Here today with Split 1 here in FRL. Of course, if you're new to FRL, my name is Bradley, and as always, I've got Syntax with me.
Hello guys, how you doing? I hope you're doing great as we did, because today we are on the COTA, so this is the home race of Bradley, and I want to ask how you feel about it.
Well, I love this track. I absolutely love this track. As everyone is very familiar, I don't have a lot of experience in F1 League racing. I wasn't a racer in FRL, but I've done a lot of GT races around here in some different games. I've done some Formula 1 racing around here and some Formula racing. I absolutely love this track. It was just built in 2012. I talked about this a little bit in Split 2 about the track's history. It was designed in 2010, started racing in 2012. It runs MotoGP, it runs real F1, it runs F2, F3. I mean, there's so many different series that run through here, but it is such a fun track to go through. There's so many different design elements to it. The first sector, the second sector, the third sector, they're all unique, and you really have to be a well-rounded driver to succeed around here. And it's a lot of fun for me to watch, and it's a lot of fun to see how challenging it is for these drivers, especially, you know, we're watching Buchek, and Buchek just had a little bit of a snap out of the rear end going through the first sector, and then you know, that can compromise your entire lap. One little slight bit of oversteer can ruin your entire lap here.
So I'm watching right now Graxen that is co-working with the Baran. Baran just give Graxen slipstream, and I think this is a huge plus for Graxen on this current hot lap. We will see what time he will make until, of course, the end of it. But I believe he is the first one that he will make a time. So, of course, it will be our first time in current qualification session. But still, I will ask you, Bradley, about predictions. Because here on COTA is a very hard track, I will say. And to be honest, I was trying to make a few setups, and you can believe me or not, but finding the best setup for the car is a huge problem, I would say, because it depends that you will prefer setups for corners, for fast turns, as we have the whole sector 1, or maybe on the straight. So yeah, I think we'll see a totally different driving styles in today's race, and as far as I know, some drivers going with the 37 almost wings, but for example Buchek will go with 2024. So this is a huge difference, and for the straights Buchek will have a huge advantage of that.
Yeah, one of the big things that you really have to be comfortable with here at Coda is being uncomfortable. You have to be willing to compromise some sections in order to take advantage in others. For me, I always found that the biggest area I focused on was Sector 1. The S's, that entire section of the track was where I always focused on my car. Because I found if I had a really good setup through Sector 1, I could compromise the rest of my lap and start off really strong through. So that was always what I would look at as a driver. Some drivers, of course, the third sector is really daunting for them, and that's what they look at because it is a series of 180-degree hairpins, the horseshoe coming through. So that is what some drivers look at. I saw a lot looking at the split 2 timings, just how varying the lap times were and how varying the sector times were. You had some drivers that were nearly 0.3 slower in Sector 2, but then were finding all of that time and then some in Sector 3.
Yeah.
So it's really just about what you're most comfortable with as a driver, and that's the fun thing with this track, and that's the fun thing with the newer F1 tracks, is there's something that fits everyone's driving style, just depending on what you're looking at and what you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And it's so nice to see also JJ on currently P3. It's a long time no see, my brother, I will say. 1:33.9, so he is still pretty fast, as he always was. But do we believe that JJ will be able to improve his time to jump in front of the Gragson? Gragson is still one of the oldest drivers in our league. I mean, like with the playtime, of course, because JJ decided to make a break last season, in the previous season. But yeah, and what is more important, we still have one driver more that have a quali ban. It's Kashti, and we know that Kashti is extremely fast, and this might be a big problem for Kashti trying to go from last to first. Of course, he was my teammates from my team, so I still believe in AlphaTauri, but I also know how good our drivers are, and in front of the Kashti is an extremely difficult task to do, so I'm not sure about the performance of Kashti in this race.
One of the things with Kashti is that Kashti's going to have a little bit more time to kind of have setups planned in and just have more of a run planned out. It can be a bit more risky because Kashti is starting from the back. One of the things, Syntax, I wanted to point out to you, you mentioned JJ. So the Coda has been ran 4 times here in FRL. Season 1, Season 2, Season 4, Season 5. Season 1 winner was Graxit, currently sitting P2. Season 2 winner was JJ, currently sitting P3 provisionally. And Season 5 winner was Tazo, currently sitting P4. So 3 of our previous winners are currently P2, 3, and 4 in quali times with 10 minutes left to go. So there's a lot of experience here in the grid. Bernard was on the podium last time we were here. So this is going to be... really, it's anyone's guess who's going to win. And who's going to come out on quali, because the big thing is, of course, with FRL, you know, it's not necessarily about where you start, it's about where you finish. But exactly. I do believe that we're in for a very, very good race. And, of course, Kashti coming from last to first, it's not unheard of here in FRL. I do think it's possible.
Yeah, of course. For example, we have Pierre Gasly today in a real-life race that he started on P12. 20 and he finished P9 is I'm thinking correctly, but I do believe is that correct. And also, yeah, we know that Kashti is a very fast driver, so I also want to see that he will take that as a challenge, I would say. Maybe not like a Jarno Opmir making his video for YouTube, but it could be a very interesting to see how Kashti will perform in this race. Also, we are still waiting for a time of, I believe, 6 drivers. Yeah, it's Baran, Ignash, Dormati or Mateusz, Matej, Nota and Debe. You were commentating Split 2, so you've seen how Debe was driving, how he was performing in the previous race. Can you tell us something about Debe's performance?
Debe has a lot of good pace. That's the biggest thing that I've found with Debe watching him drive is just luck. It's all about just there's always bad luck that surrounds Debe. And I kind of feel bad saying that because Debe is, of course, the one that technically employs me here at FRL. So, Debe, please continue to sign my paychecks. But it was great pace all the way through, and then just one spin set off the rear tires, and it kind of just set off a chain reaction. And Debe ended up finishing top 10 still, but it dropped back. I think Debe has a lot of pace there. I think it's just a little bit of luck too, and a little bit of survival, just not getting caught out in any sort of, silly moments or anything, which really in FRL, that's half of your battle is staying comfortable and getting lucky.
Yeah, I know something about that. Even though we also know that Mateusz, Matej, Nota, and even Baran, as we've seen him in the Split 2, they are also a very fast drivers. But for now, as we can see, in my opinion, they are struggling. Right now, Matej just made a time, and he's in front of the Tazo on the P5, 1 minute 33.7. But also, both of Alfa Romeo drivers that we have, John Meister and Ignace Varnas, are extremely fast. And I don't think so that they were that much fast in the previous season, but it is so good to see how much people are improving, like comparing to season, and I'm really amazed about that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the fun things here with FRL is that it's all about a game of improvement. You don't necessarily have to come in and be the best. And as you race, as you get comfortable, throughout a season, throughout multiple seasons, you get more comfortable, more consistent, and you race better and better. Of course, it's like any sport. Sometimes someone comes in, they're a little bit better than you. Sometimes, people will come in and they're worse than you. But ultimately, you're going to do something like Baran here and put in a 1:33.3 with a absolutely stellar time there with nearly 2/10 up in the third sector alone. And it's all about just consistency, being comfortable, and having fun. Ultimately, that's what we're all here for, is to have fun. And, I mean, I have fun. I can't say everyone has fun, but I have fun.
Yeah, but you can also could possibly feel like a father of the FRL because you are watching the whole progress of rising your children's from both splits, and you can still watch them improving themselves, and this must be such a privilege, I would say.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get to sit back and commentate every week and watch everything and really see from the start of the season, get the early predictions out. It's just like real life F1. I feel like Will Buxton sometimes, where I'm just like, all right, here's all of this info, and I don't know what's right and what sticks and what doesn't. And then just seeing, were my predictions right? Did things look good? Is there some sort of underdog who's going to come out of nowhere? Are you going to have a Fernando Alonso in the league, or are we about to see a Pierre Gasly? It's a lot of fun for me. Who's going to be the McLaren of the week? Who's going to pull a Ferrari? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And Nota just put himself on the P8, 133.9 flat. So also a very good time, but placing himself on the P8 provisional, of course. And the last two drivers that don't have time is Mateusz and Debe. Debe looks like he's struggling so much, just like he cannot make a proper lap time. And I'm wondering what is happening with that. Maybe it's all about the car because he was previously driving the Red Bull, now just turning to the Williams. I hope not.
I think Debe is doing the ultimate one-shot quali challenge here, looking through, looking at the sector times he's put in when he's been out. He's not off the pace in any way. Like, his sector times all look very good for what he's put in. It's just connecting the lap through and being able to make it through, which is really challenging here, especially in the evening at COTA because of the way the sun comes down. The entire third sector, you're just driving into the sunset.
Yeah. But even though I need to say that Kota is a very nice track, I need to admit that.
Coda is a really fun track. It's a different track compared to some of the more traditional circuits that we have on the map.
Okay, so top 10 is right now making me kind of shocked, I will say. Bara on the provisional pole position, Ignas and John Meister P2, P3, Kashti on the P4, Graxen P5, JJ drifting into the pit lane, hitting the wall on the P10, Matej Tazo P6, P7, Nota and Buciek P8 and P9, and JJ as I said on the P10. Next we have Bemolino, Bernard, Vixi, Puchacz, Wasserschwein, Bartes, Storek, Mateusz and Debe. Oh, it's so hard to see when Debe is struggling so much. But there's so many things that have connections with the game, like for example, if you have a new update for your Logitech wheel, you can expect that something will not be working properly. For example, your, I don't know, force feedback, maybe you will feel that your car is too heavy or maybe it's too light. Yeah, so if you want to drive in any other league, you have to be prepared for that, because it's like, I would say, carousel as we have on the Kota somewhere on the sector 2 on the left side. Yeah, but yeah, it's so unpredictable and it is so annoying just to being a. You will try to become a semi-pro, I will say, driver, and even though you will try to improve yourself, and then something is not going as you wish because of the things that you don't have, like the. I'm missing the word. Can you help me, Brad?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of what word would work there.
It's like that you don't have anything. You cannot do anything about it because it's out of your sight, I will say. Oh, never mind. Even though we're getting close to the end of the qualification session, and I cannot see how much time it still we have, because we still have a few yellow flags. 30 seconds.
30 seconds here to the end of qualifying, and at the moment every driver's on track doing something, and I'm looking here, timing sheets are being lit up at the moment for me by Graxen of all people. So we'll see here if Graxen's gonna throw across a time, even though it seems like to me Graxen's slow, so my timing sheets might be a little bit off. As of right now, best sectors, Ignis best sector 1, Kashi best sector 2, best sector 3, Baran. Checkered flag has fallen, so as drivers cross the line, wherever they land is where they land. Barthez comes across, can't improve, P15. Maverick, P14, not improving. Graxen is currently rounding turn 16, coming through 17, 18. We have one of the Alpines that is off the track at turn 15. Not sure what happened there. As we continue to watch here, is Graxen going to be able to improve anything? As Graxen runs through, and Graxen comes across the line, locks it in P6 there. Baran is going to come across the line right behind, locks it in provisional pole with that 133.3. Ignis is currently on a push lap here. Maddie with a 133.252, half a second up, and we still have some drivers that are up trying to push through some times as well. I believe Bucic might be pushing through a time, but doesn't matter because Bucic is off the track there, final sector. We've still got drivers coming through. It's about to get very busy here at the line. We've got, let's see here, who's next to come across? We've got lots of drivers coming through. Nobody really improving and sticking out to me. Noda comes across, though. P5 improves just a bit. You've got Puchacz, who is into the pits, coming out. You've got JJ, who should be coming through, finishing final lap, coming across. JJ locks it in P12, doesn't improve. Bernard coming around the final corner. No front wing on that car. Bernard takes out the pit lane cone. So, Maddie left a little reserves in the tank, I believe, for the end of qualifying and didn't tell anyone. Maddie finding himself half a tenth up.
Yeah, and he told me that he was struggling because him and Tazo are driving on the controllers, and they say the Kota is kind of difficult track for them because in the SS they struggling so much. But out of nowhere, Mati just came on the pole position. So huge congrats, and I would say that's all. Every single driver is already finished the qualification session. Biggest surprise for us, Bradley. What do you say?
Say it's Maddie pulling that out of the hat right there at the very end. I always love seeing someone put in a great quality time right at the very, very end. Maddie, Pog, champ. And then Debe was finally able to put in a time. Came across P13, JJ P12, Graxon's in 8th. Cashty, of course, will drop to the back of the grid. So I think we're on for a very strong qualifying session, or a very strong race syntax, as long as everyone survives lap 1.
I hope the turn 1 will be safe, and as I'm always saying, just be careful and have fun, guys. It's all about it.
Absolutely. Stick with us just a minute. We'll be right back with the race. All right, and we are 30 seconds away from race start here, and this grid is packed, and it should be absolute chaos. Of course, after last week of Saudi Arabia, it is all set up for a great time. Can John Meister come back and win again? Is anyone going to challenge him? Can Tazo have a more competitive finish and find his way up front to defend the Drivers' Championship? He currently leads by 6 points. All is to be determined and more as we go 5 red lights. And we are underway now here for the race. All the drivers get away pretty well here. You can see jockeying around in the back. McLaren there of Noda got away very, very poorly. He's going to be swallowed up there in the midfield. And you can see Carbon Fiber flying 4 wide going into turn 1 there. And there is an Alfa Romeo that went very, very wide there. And now big carnage as we see Noda. And that is going to be Puhash that was collected. And Matush is coming through the back. And now carnage already, and we're only a couple corners in, and I believe that is already a VSC. All right, so couple corners in, things got kind of crazy. Puhash and Noda collected each other there. Matush dropped back a few places, and Maverick is up 6 places, along with Bernard being up 4. Ignis lost out. Noda had a very, very poor jump off the line there, so that was something.
Oh yeah. The biggest winner right now is Vixie that jumped in front of 6 places. The biggest losers right now, Puhac and Nota, 12 and 15 places. So yeah, the big carnage at the beginning of the race, but I hope we will not see that anymore, and I beg for not showing safety car on the track. I just beg you guys.
Of course, no safety cars in Split 2. Only one VSC was had there. And one thing, big difference between Split 1 and Split 2, the strategy. Wasserschwein's on softs, Bimolino Gaucho is on hards. Every other driver is on mediums, whereas it was a very 50-50 split filled between medium and hard strategy in Split 2. What's the preferred strategy, Syntax? Is it medium to hards?
In this game, it really depends on the driver, I will say. Ooh, Bucek just got a 5 seconds penalty. Yeah, because he went under the delta. Even though, yeah, as I said previously, it depends on the driver, because softs in this game are totally useless. Most of the drivers prefer going to medium to hard or hard to medium. But maybe we will see something new from the drivers, even though you don't have to go for the double pit strategy in every single race. If you can manage your tires, you can do it on the one pit strategy. But even though, as we can see already, Wasserschwein decided to go for the mediums. So right now only the Bumblebee Gaucho is on the hard compound.
The Wasserschwein strategy to try to get moving early, failing very hard. Cashy's up to P12 right now and still looking to gain places here as we run down the backstretch here. They're 3 wide going down the backstretch, and it looks like Cashy is going to come out ahead of both Mateusz and Extract here. Cuts it hard on the inside into the turn 12 and is able to hold on to it there. So Cashy on the charge from P19 up to P12 currently. Ignis and Baran battling there in very unconventional passing zone, P16. So Ignis and John Meister, P3, P2 at the moment, absolutely gunning it in the Alfa Romeos to try to move forward in the Constructors' Championship and hold on to it. They currently have 19 points against Red Bull, which is going to be Tazo and who's the other Red Bull this week?
Yeah, just look how Mate is flying already 0.8 seconds in front of the John Meister. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Mate is on the flying mode, like hammer time Mate or something. But yeah, it's a good thing because Red Bull really need these points for the Constructor Championship, and I believe Tazo is this is not his favorite track, especially that, as I mentioned before, he's driving on the controller. But it's just the beginning of the race. We still have a lot of laps in front of us, so anything might happen. As we can see right now, Kashti is currently on the P11. He's trying to catch the front of the grid. Right now he's fighting so hardly with the Mateusz. Mateusz had a better exit. Kashti almost slips out, but somehow he managed to stay on the position. Right now we can see that he is trying to chase Mateusz. They're going to the turn, but Mateusz have inside, so it was so much better line for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Still battling it here through 13. Cashy gets a big snap of oversteer there from the rear and is able to hold on to it there, but is now going to be under pressure from Extract. Extract's on the outside, has to brake to avoid the sausage curbs, compromise that turn. So Cashy, P12, but lots of pace in that AlphaTauri whenever it's facing the right way. Cashy spinning again, coming through turn 18. And now is going to lose another position there to Bimolino down into P14. Going to have to keep his cool for a lap or two there as we see Mateusz now getting past Barthez. And then there is the battle here. Tazo, Maverick, Graxon. This is a big 3-way battle to watch here. As we see Tazo getting up to P7. Graxon's not far ahead though there in P6. And there goes Maverick spinning out there. He's going to drop down several places and struggle to get going again.
Yeah, but also we didn't saw the situation when JJ attacked Graxon and Tazo. They were fighting each other, and then somehow JJ decided to go as a third wheel, and he overtaked both of them. So he jumped in front of in both of them at the P5 currently right now. Bemolino Gaucho have some problems, also spun, and he lost also several places right now, P15. So the biggest and closest battle right now, as I believe, is currently P3 and P2 right behind Mate, and Tazo fighting with Graxon very hardly. The rest of the grid is already settled down, I would say.
Yeah, it's a very long race, 28 laps in. We're only 4 laps into this 28-lap race. Tazo's really pushing to get past Graxon because Tazo's big goal needs to be to get ahead of Ignis in order to try to secure a little bit more of a gap in the Drivers' Championship because it's still not decided. And at this moment, Tazo only has a 6-point lead against Ignis, and John Meister is just 15 points behind. So either of those drivers can come ahead and knock Tazo out of the Drivers' Championship. But then, of course, John Meister and Ignis are trying to beat Maddie because they want to get ahead. They want to earn places in both the Drivers and the Constructors because they are 19 points ahead in Constructors. So we could see something interesting where we see one person win the Drivers' Championship, but then the different team wins the Constructors. It really just depends on how these next 4 races play out, including this one. But as we watch here, Tazo is a 1/10 of a second back on Graxon at the moment, and Graxon is not making it easy on this Red Bull to get past. And Tazo, Graxon's taking that Ferrari and positioning it beautifully as we run down the hill here towards turn 10. I believe this is... Are they at turn... Yeah, that's turn 10. And you can see Tazo's struggling on traction. going through there. He's very, very much struggling getting on the traction, and it's very unique to see Tazo struggle like that, because usually Tazo does very well on corner exit, and I think it's just the nature of this track, which it is getting cloudy, so I don't know if we're expecting rain or not, but it is starting to get a little cloudy, which might be a good thing for these drivers. We'll see if I can get a little bit of a weather report here.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that maybe you are seeing the clouds that are coming, and I believe I seeing the first drops of the water. Ignis Varner just have a 3 seconds time penalty because of the track limits, and he is cutting these corners like a mad. So yeah, this might be a big opportunity for the rest of the drivers just to jump in front of the Ignis, but still, as you mentioned, we have almost 20 laps in front of us. But yeah, I'm seeing the first drops of the rain, so the race will definitely will change and get more interested. And also, I know that both of Red Bull drivers are feeling a very good on wet conditions. So that's where you're talking, and saying previously might be a very good opportunity for them.
Absolutely. Looking at the weather predictions, so they're calling light rain coming in, progressing into storms by the end of the race. So heavy rain by the end of the race. So we should see the intermediate and the wet tires get used here, which is very, very weird. And I think Tazo knows the pressure that he needs to put on Graxent here and try to get some track position early on, because I have a strange feeling that we're going to see some safety cars after the switch over to intermediate tires. You can see Tazo trying to go the long way around here through turn 16, turns into the inside for 17 and 18. Tazo's able to get past Graxent there through the horseshoe, and Tazo is up into P6 now and can set his sights on JJ. It's about 3 seconds ahead of him, but the rain is progressing a little bit faster than, I thought it would. So it's only a matter of time before everyone starts to pit in. There's the DRS disabled call, so that is usually the sign from race control that track conditions are changing, but the track still looks fairly dry. I'm riding on board with John Meister here, and things still look fairly decent. He still seems to have a lot of traction in those medium tires, so I don't know when they'll pit. I see Kashti, Extraek, and Debe are into the pits, but Molino, so the whole back half of the grid are into the pits now for intermediates. And Syntex, this just made this race very interesting.
Yep, definitely. And also, I will give you a tip. When there's an information that DRS has been turned off, is a sign that you have to go for the intermediates. And almost 100%, trust me, we as a team were using this strategy, and it was always a very helpful information for us.
Yeah, I'm starting to see little puddles form for Maddie as Maddie goes around the track. There's a couple of small puddles in Sector 3 as he's coming around turn 16 towards the horseshoe. So the track is going to run away from them very, very quickly. It's going to get very, very wet very, very quick. And you see Kashti on the intermediates just cruising past Wasserschwein. So this is definitely, the dry tires are not the tire to be on right now. And I'm going to say the entire front half of the grid is about to dive into the pit lane, and it's about to get very busy. There goes Maddie. There goes John Meister. Ignis stays out another lap. That is a blunder of a decision coming from the Alfa Romeo pit wall. I do not know why you would stay out another lap, even though you're double stacking your drivers. I'm scared to see what happens here with Ignis. Ignis is going to struggle horrendously for another lap on those medium compound tires. And we'll see here, because 16 seconds is the gap between Ignis and Maddie. We'll see how quickly that gap starts to close down as they push through. You can see here, the front half of the grid is pretty much able to get in and out of the pits before Kashti comes through. Kashti is going to come through, and it looks like get past Graxent here. On the inside, he's going to have Barthez and Mateusz, but is going to be able to get around, I believe, Mateusz there as Mateusz struggles coming on pit exit. And Ignis has completely lost it there. Caught out on the medium tires. Alfa Romeo didn't want to double stack. And it looks like it has cost Ignis tremendously there. You can see just how wet the track is, reflecting really hard. That is 16 seconds has already been cut down to 5 seconds, and it's still continuing to come down. Ignis might have just dropped. That's painful to watch.
Yeah, but this is a main problem with the strategy when you and your teammate are really close to each other, and you have to choose that you will be double stacking or you'll decide to go for one more lap. And I believe Ignace didn't want to destroy the John Meister's strategy, but it is what it is. John Meister went for the inters. Right now Ignace, we can see, is going for the inters, but he lost a lot because of that decision. And we both know, and maybe not even both, but all of us know, that how much important is a very high placement for Ignace Varnas, just to have more points being in front of the Tazo, fighting for the championship. So yeah, this decision could be possibly a little bit different. For example, John Meister could went for maybe one more lap and letting Ignace going for the inters. I'm not sure, but even though the race is getting over, we're almost in the 9th lap, so still a lot of laps in front of us. But you mentioned something about the heavy raining, right? So
Yeah.
welcome to the America, maybe some tornadoes, maybe something like this. I wouldn't be surprised about the weather, because right now we have almost everything. Sunny weather, raining, then heavy rain, some storms. It's going to be a really intense and interesting race.
Absolutely. Welcome to Texas, everyone. Yeehaw. Anyways, as we watch through here, JJ losing a couple places there, dropping down to P11, getting passed by Graxit and Barthez coming through turn 11 there onto the back straight, which is a very interesting place to lose places. I talked about this in Split 2 a little bit, but it's the thing with Coda that's really unique is it's got 3 big braking zones. Into turn 11, into turn 1, and into turn 12. And all of those corners that you do that heavy braking into are 120-degree left-handers. So this is a really unique track in the way you have to approach those corners, and one bad line can cost you big time. As we see Ignis getting passed by Matouche there, going down into P7. So Ignis currently just on the back foot, trying to catch up and trying to hold on. Matty currently sitting P1 for Red Bull. John Meister's P2, trying to chase him down. 3.5 tenths a second is the gap there. Tazo back in P4 with Baran in P3. And the top two have kind of ran away a little bit there. And then it's a 10-second gap back to Baran. So the top two really pushing each other to the limit through this race. We're lap 10 of 28, so 18 to go here. And I'm curious to see long-term what comes out of this, as we have a Wasserschwein off the track in Sector 3.
Even though Baran is getting closer to the John Meister, so it's not that pushing themselves to getting forward. But even though Mate is just feeling like a fish in the water, I would say, like, he's amazing today. And something's happened with Wasserschwein. He decided to retire in the pit lane, so we will not have a safety car or a virtual safety car. So that's a good information, but it's a sad information that we lost Wasserschwein in that race.
Absolutely. To give you an idea of lap times here, Matty's last lap was a 146.0. John Meister put in a 145.7. Tazo put in a 145.4. And Baran put in a 145.6. So Tazo is past Baran now. So at this point, Tazo, who is...
Baran just spun.
Oh. Wet conditions are not for everyone. And Coda is not a fun track in the wet. So I feel bad for these drivers, because I'm sure a lot of them were not prepared for wet Coda, because we're supposed to be in sunny Austin, Texas, and here we are in the pouring rain that's just supposed to get heavier as we continue. That was Ignis, I believe, who ran wide out of the final corner as well, and now has Cashty pressuring.
If I remember, we have a short quota a few seasons ago, and I was standing then on the podium. So for me, the reigning quota is a very nice race. But right now, as we can see, Mateusz and Baran were pushing themselves on the S's in the first sector. And I believe in these conditions, it might be a little bit difficult just to go wheel to wheel in the first sector. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's very, very... You have to be very brave and a degree of dumb to do that. I would not recommend side-by-side through Sector 1, even in the best. And what was that behind them? Ignis and Cashty snap of the rear end there, and I think that is going to let Cashty get past Ignis there. That was very, very weird. I thought they made contact as I was watching. And then Mateusz and Baran. There goes Ignis on the inside of Cashty, so I think... no harm, no foul made there. And now Cashty dives it right back up the inside on Ignis. We've been seeing a lot of good third sector battles. You don't really want to fight in the first sector, but the third sector, we've been seeing a lot of good battles, Syntax. It's been fun to watch. Yeah. You can see there almost contact between Ignis and Cashty. Ignis has to run wide there. Cashty is going to hang back and I think allow Ignis to keep the position for the moment and then try to battle it back again as they come through the horseshoe and around. And... man, Ignis is struggling for grip. He's running wide every, other corner in the third sector.
Yeah, I've seen that. So I believe Cashty could take advantage of that situation because why not? Even though Mateusz still holding back of Baran, and I see that Baran have some connection issues, and I believe I've seen he lost connection in the split 2. Right now he was teleporting in front of the Mateusz, so I'm not sure this is a safe way to drive. Even though Bernard and Tazo P3 and P4 right now with I would say huge time gap difference between them, and of course Tazo is losing a lot, almost 10 seconds to the Junmeister that is almost sitting on the back of Mati. Do we believe that both Red Bulls will hold it until the end and we will see them on a podium, or maybe something's happened? We've seen many different situations in the FRL races, and we know that if driver will not drive until the last lap and he will cross the finish line, we can expect almost everything.
Yeah, I think as long as Matty and Tazo keep a cool head here and stay comfortable, and Matty just does what he's doing, because it doesn't seem like John Meister can catch him, I think they'll be in a good spot. Ignis and Cashty are... this is really aggressive battling from these two for P7. I mean, they are not letting up from one another. It's Ignis one lap, Cashty the next. Ignis just ran it significantly wide again coming through turn 19. And, I mean, he has to have some serious track limits penalties coming his way right now. Let's see what he has, because I know he has a penalty. I don't know how serious.
Yeah, Ignis have 6 seconds, Cashty have 3 seconds, Baron and Bernard 3 seconds, Bartes 3 seconds, and Buciek 3 seconds.
That's crazy. He's got to dial it back just a little bit and try to hold on to it here. It is wet, so you want to push, but he needs to make sure he doesn't ruin his race in the process here of trying to go through. So, curious to see what happens here as they go. They're side-by-side right now, which is, again, side-by-side Sector 1. Very, very gutsy move. Cashty loses the rear end going into turn 10 here and holds on to it, though. Doesn't lose anything, but now... if you look behind him, you can see the red prancing horse of the Ferrari getting into the mix as well here. So we're about to have a three-way battle for P7. And meanwhile, I think the rest of the grid has kind of calmed down with where they're at, even the top two. And then here we go. Cashty gets around Ignis here. He's able to use Slipstream. He's going to try to hold on to it. They're side by side. He's going to try to squeeze Ignis wide. Ignis has to ramp over the sausage curbs. loses out on position there. Now Graxon's in the mix. Graxon's going to look up the inside here. Going through 13-14. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? Graxon backs out of it. So now Graxon's going to look around again here. Can't make it stick through the outside of the horseshoe. Graxon's going to slot back in here. So Cashy now up into P7, 7/10 of a second away. And hopefully Cashy's going to be able to try to run away a little bit. Ignis runs wide out of turn 19, and that is going to give Graxon a little bit of a sniff here. Going into the final corner, loses the rear end hard. And Graxon now has a run up the hill here. Is he going to be able to get this pass done going into turn 1? You see he's right on the back here of Ignis. He's going to look around. And Graxon playing it smart here, backing out of it a bit. Ignis very, very loose on traction and losing the rear end significantly on corner exit.
Somewhere behind the corner also is trying to catch them JJ, who is placing himself right now on the P10. And as you can see, Nota is fighting very hardly with the Bemolino Gaucho right now. Nota take the inside, and he is in front of the Bemolino, placing himself on the P14. So yeah, the closest battle between the drivers, as I believe, is like Bemolino, Graxon, Mateusz right now, getting closer to the Baran, and John Meister. The rest is going very safely, I would say, and just drive to survive until the finish line. Something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. They just need to kind of hang on. And speaking of drive to survive, here we go. Graxon's driving and surviving against Ignis. So Graxon's now up into P8. Ignis dropping down into P9. So it's just a downhill battle for Ignis at this point. But Syntex, my big question, when are we transitioning to the wets? The lap times are continuing to slow down every lap. So we're now, the leaders are running in the mid 148s. 148.5 was Maddie's last lap. So I'm wondering, what time do we opt for these drivers to go onto wet tires? How much slower do they have to go before we go to the wet tires?
I believe 5 more laps, something like this, because look, you can, for example, check the times and look how much John Meister just start to losing the time behind the Mati. Is all over 1 second right now. Tazo, for example, just start to earning the time, and he already finds somewhere 2 seconds behind the John Meister, because the time difference between John and Tazo were 9 seconds. So maybe this is the time that few drivers will be feeling okay with the intermediates, but for some drivers I think the changing the tires for the wets could be possibly a very good decision. But where is the starting point to go for the wets? I'm not sure, because it's like how you are feeling with the car, I will say.
Yeah, because it looks like it's getting significantly wetter as I watch each lap come through. And I just can't tell where the point is, because we're starting to see a lot of standing water on track. We've got a yellow flag sector 2 that's been sitting for a minute. I think that was actually Debe who spun, but it seems like everything is back underway. And everyone's looking pretty good here. But yeah, times are continuing to get slower and slower as I watch. I mean, even then, that was another 0.2 of a second slower from our leader than his last lap. So it seems like we're really hitting that point where the drivers need to consider what's faster, intermediates or wets here, and where are they doing better. And I'm only bringing this up because as we watch Cashty there and Graxon and Ignis kept popping the rear end, and you can see the spray coming off of Tazo's car here that we're watching in P3. And, I mean, this is treacherous at this point. This is dangerous, and it's one of those where I think everyone's going to settle in and really hit that survival stage of just get through the race. Don't be the one to cause a safety car, and get through the race. Because the rain is supposed to lighten up near the end of the race, it looks like. Because we are halfway through now. So I don't know, Syntax. This is one of those moments where I don't know what the best strategy is, but someone's bound to dive into the pits first, and it's going to trigger a lot of things.
Yeah, Deb is currently now in the pit lane, but he decided to went for another pair of intermediate compound. So this is also a very interesting strategy. We will see. Mm, but yeah, I'm still waiting for the first driver that will decide for to go for the wets. Nobody wants to do that, especially like this is a very difficult moment for Mati and Tazo. Mate is earning a lot of time in front of the John Meister, and I believe John Meister is start struggling even worse. But Tazo, just look how fast Tazo is getting closer to the John Meister. It's unbelievable. Even though Tazo is going out in front of the Bernard, Bernard just start losing more time behind him. So this is unbelievable how they feel the intermediate compound and how good they feel with them. It's just amazing.
Lap times are now in the 150s and the 149s, but amazingly, Tazo 149.0, John Meister 150.1. And even then, John Meister was still slower than our race leader by 3/10. So times are still coming down. Everyone's still slowing down a bit here, but it's still enough. Tazo's finding time where others can't. And it really goes to show why Tazo is currently leading the Drivers' Championship.
Mateusz just came really close behind the Bernard, so I believe this is the closest situation on the track right now between the drivers, so we can watch this battle right now. Mateusz decided to going outside, and even before the turn he overtaked Bernard and take the P4, so a very unique moment for Mateusz. It was a very brave moment for him, and it was paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it pays to be brave in the wet, and you get, really good returns. And for Mateusz there, very, very good. You could see sliding through turn 12, though. Him and Bernard both just absolutely drifting it through. And of course, these are Formula One cars. They're not drift cars. But maybe they want to take place in Formula Drift every once in a while. Puhash DNFing out. I'm not sure what happened there. And that...
Safety.
Pit lane's about to get very, very busy. Matty was by the pit lane before he could go in. John Meister, Tazo were all by the pit lane. I think starting with Mateusz all the way back, we're about to see a lot of people into the pit lane. And there goes Mateusz into the pit lane. Bernard's not into the pit lane. Baran is into the pit lane. Cashy's into the pit lane. Graxon's into the pit lane. All right, Syntex, things are getting very, very busy here. And let's see what everyone decides to do. JJ's into the pit lane now. Who is going with what? Ferrari have put a set of wet tires on, and they're double stacking in Ferrari, both going to wet tires. Cashy's onto the wets. Mateusz is onto the wets. Graxon's wet tires. Ignis wet tires. JJ is onto a set of intermediates.
Interesting.
I would agree with that. Intermediates going on for McLaren. Wet tires going on at the Alpine garage for Extract. Noda coming in and going on to a set of
intermediates.
Bomolino Gaucho is onto a set of wet tires, double stacking down there at Alpine, double stacking at pretty much every garage that can. Buchik's in onto inners. Debe is onto fresh inners as well, as we're under safety car. Top four not in the pits yet. Everybody else seems torn between wets or intermediates at this point. Syntax, it kind of looks like wet weather conditions to me. I don't know about you.
As I mentioned in the previous race, my graphics options will let me to drive even though on the medium compound here, but when I'm watching your screen, I'm kind of mixed, because it's like, for me it's 50-50. If you will feel okay with the intermediates, it's a weather that you can easily go with the intermediates. Okay, you can decide to go for the wets, but there is a possibility that you will not earn that much time. Look how much Mateusz is struggling with the wets. He's almost drifting on that corner. So still, I'm not sure about that. Matt just decided no, John Meister just decided to go for the going to the pit lane, and we will see that he will take the wets or not.
Let's see here, because the thing is, too, they're supposed to get through the safety car here. John Meister is in wet tires and a wing change coming in for the Alfa Romeo. So Alfa Romeo not having a good race here, it seems. Matty Tazzo, Red Bull P1, P2 at the moment. Bernard is P3. So top 3 on intermediates, old intermediates at that. And then you've got wet weather tires, P4, 5, 6, 7, P8. JJ's in P9 on intermediates. Bimolino Gaucho has retired out of the session.
He just spun and crashed into the wall.
Oh, that.
In sector 3.
Yep, we see him here on screen now. That's coming into turn 19, coming out of the horseshoe. So, and Bimolino was on wet tires, so I don't know. I can't tell you which tire is the right tire right now, but we have 9 laps left in this race. And we're still waiting on the grid to bunch up. And then, of course, we have to come out from safety car. And I don't know. I mean, my weather prediction does says storm for next 10 minutes. And then light rain after that.
Okay.
So, depending on how much longer this race has, we could be seeing these conditions for the rest of the race.
Yeah. Let me hear. Like, currently, situation on the track looks like this. Half of the drivers have wet compound and half of the drivers have intermediate compound. So basically, if you will ask me right now which one is much better, I will tell you like flip a coin. It will be exactly the same as my answer.
That's so... This is such a weird condition to be in right now. It makes no sense to me. Especially because when you look, like, driving in the wets is already so hard as it is. So either Matty, Tazzo, and Bernard have just made the best strategy move possible, or they've made an absolute blunder and they are about to just drop. But I guess there's only one way to find out here. Grid has almost bunched backed up. We've got Debe, who's about half a lap behind, and then Maverick and Buchik, who are still trying to catch up a little bit here. I'm going to say probably safety cars in this lap. And then we get to find out the answer to what's the best tire to be on right now.
I'm so sorry, but I have some game issue problems and I can go back. Okay, right now I think it's okay. Yeah. Somewhere Graxton just have a collision with JJ.
JJ
Yeah, please continue.
JJ's missing his front wing. I don't know what happened there. That's frustrating. JJ was running such a good race.
It's still not over. Many drivers have also a time penalty. So we can wait, of course, until the end. JJ have a drive-through. It will definitely somehow destroy his race and his pace. But we will see. Maybe another safety car. Maybe something's changed. Right now, even though Ignas have a 9 seconds time penalties, Kashti 6 seconds, Baran 9 seconds, Bernard 3 seconds, Bart 6 seconds, Nota and Buchek 3 seconds time penalty. So yeah, I believe this is the last lap, or maybe not, because Debe is still not with the rest of drivers, but I hope it will be the last lap for safety car, and then we will go back for the racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cashti's up 13 places. Bernard's up 11. The call is made. Safety car in this lap. So this is going to be all the marbles to play for here. Matty and Tazzo will take control of the field. They'll decide when things go. Can Bernard there in the Silver Arrow Mercedes catch them? Will they get swallowed up by Matouche, Baran, and Kashti? Only one way to find out here. You can see the safety car taking off from the front of the field, giving Matty control. And we will continue to watch and see how this race develops. 8 laps to go with the line. And I don't know. I don't know, Syntax. We're about to find out, though.
Yeah, but imagine now you have to heat your tires in the weather like this. Almost impossible. But let's check this out and we will see how... What is... My whole lobby just crashed and have no idea what's going on.
All right, so we're back underway here while Syntax tries to fix those technical issues. Some weird stuff happening here, but Maddie is going to take us underway. Tazo P2, Mateusz P3, Bernard's already down into P4. Now Bernard's getting swallowed up again, down into P5 here. Wet weather tires are showing dominant here with traction. Kashti's up into P4. Is Kashti going to do a last to first challenge? It is possible here. Barthez P10, Buchik P11. JJ, of course, having to pit there for a new wing right at the restart. And going on to another set of intermediates here. You can see Graxent getting around Bernard. Bernard's already dropped all the way into P8. Maddie and Tazo P1 and P2 here. Mateusz P3. And you can see the wet weather tires are showing a bit of a grip advantage at the moment. Bernard's now down from P3 to P9 in less than half a lap. There goes Mateusz up into P2. Tazo P3. And now we've got a spin going. There's caution flags out. I can't tell why. But you can see the intermediates are starting to struggle for grip here. Maddie's in P1. Mateusz is in P2, 0.2 of a second back here. Is he going to have the braking grip in order to get this pass done? There's a lot of things moving in the midfield with the intermediate tire runners. Big lock up there from Mateusz, pushing Maddie wide. Kashti's going to slide in the mix. Kashti, last to first challenge coming up for you because Kashti is now in P2. Maddie's still P3, P4 Baran, Tazo P5. We questioned if the intermediate tires were going to be the right decision, and it doesn't look like they are, as we have a Ferrari and Alfa Romeo sandwiched there with the Red Bull. And that pushes Maddie significantly wide there. Maddie and Tazo just dropping place by place, corner by corner. They're now down to P6 and 7. Ignis up into P4, Graxent P5, and Extract is in P8. Buchik P9, Bernard is down into P10. We'll see if any of these intermediate runners decide to pit now. They're all going to try to stick it out here and suffer long-term on these intermediate tires. Maddie's now down P8, battling with Buchik. They're side-by-side onto the main straight, but you can see the traction difference. Not enough traction with those intermediate tires to fight Maddie down into P9 now. Tazo's putting up a defensive masterclass here to be sitting in P6, and he's got Extract there in P7, 0.6 of a second back, who is trying to catch him there as Tazo is trying to just hold position and make points. His championship rival Ignis now up into P4. Baran's in P3, 0.2 of a second back. Kashti's lost almost a second on Mateusz here. Mateusz is in P1, nearly a second up now. So we've got 7 laps to go, and it looks like the intermediate gamble did not pay off for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, definitely. Somehow Tazo is still holding his P6, but I believe it will be fighting with air because Storek is just right behind him, and we've seen on the start when Matej was fighting with Buchek how much more traction you have while you have a wet compound. So yeah, definitely it will help, but I don't believe that both of Red Bulls have a chance to stand on the podium in the next 6 laps until the end of the race.
Not unless there's some drastic weather condition changes, which I can't imagine would happen that quickly. John Meister currently P11, battling with Bernard. Now John Meister on the fresher intermediates, able to get past Bernard up into P10. Bernard's P11, continuing to drop back because now he's got Noda for friends there. Ignis Graxent battling. Baran has spun and is dropping back pretty significantly there. Baran's now down into P7 with Buchik applying pressure coming through turn 19. Baran doesn't seem to be having a good time on the wet weather tires, so Baran dropping back. Currently, we're sitting Kashti P2, Ignis P3, Graxent P4. Mateusz is just over a second away from Kashti, up in the lead. Tazo's P5, 0.4 of a second back, and somehow Tazo is forcing those intermediate tires to comply.
Kashti, I believe he take that our words to his heart, and he really is doing that challenge from last to first. He is going unbelievable good race. And right now, this Ignas went too far. I believe he blocked his wheels, and right now he fell down to the P5, just behind Tazo. So the fight for the podium is still next so real close for Tazo, because he's sitting on the back of Graxent, and what is more important, he's still in front of the Ignas. So he's current opponent for the fight with the championship. Baran just loses right now time behind the Mate, so this is the time probably that intermediate compounds can possibly came back to life. But we'll see, it's still 5 laps to go, so we don't know that. But Tazo will definitely try to push everything that he have behind Graxent and try to stand on that podium.
Absolutely. The rain is supposed to start light.
Oh,
That is... Who was that? Matouche that has spun
Yeah.
there? So the rain is supposed to continue to lighten up for the rest of the race, Syntax. So we might still see Red Bull pull something out of the hat here, as we see Tazo putting a lot of pressure on Graxent here. So I think the time for wet weather tires has come and gone while we were under safety car. And speaking of safety car, there is a safety car. I don't know why, though.
Because Mateusz decided to push out of the track on the horseshoe Baran that he really hits the wall. But I'm not sure what is going on with the safety cars when there's a situation on the track when someone is like touching the walls or something, they are not crashed. John Meister decided to go for the soft compound.
That has to be a glitch or an error on John Meister's side, because John Meister is straight into the wall.
Yeah, but he used the back on track button,
I would
don't
imagine
believe this is a bug.
I would imagine that John Meister was trying to make a tire selection and selected the wrong thing. Would be my guess. Baran picking up a drive-through penalty now for speeding under safety car. So, we're now in what I would call intermediate tire conditions. Maybe pushing wet weather tires, but possibly not. I think the time for the wet weather tires was really we lost it whenever we were under our last safety car. But trying to look through, the safety car stopped and is letting the whole field by. I'm curious to see who goes into the pits here and who doesn't. I don't think Tazo's going to pit. I don't think Maddie's going to pit. I would say all the intermediate runners are going to stay out here, and everyone on wet weather tires is probably going to come in and see if they can pick up some fresh intermediates for some positions. Because I would say by the time this safety car time ends, it's going to be dry enough. Baran has 4 drive-thrus, by the way. I don't know.
How is that even possible?
It keeps telling him he's speeding under safety car.
Yeah.
It's popped up four penalties. So I don't know what's happening there. Cashty's into the pits. Graxent is not into the pits. Graxent's staying out on the wet weather tires. Ignis is staying out. Matouche is into the pits. Extraek is into the pits. Buchek stays out. So
Baran just had a disqualification because he just stopped on the track, and it was like saying he is disqualified for the session, breaking too many rules. So I have no idea what is going on in this race.
chaos. Literal,
Chaos.
absolute chaos. That is all you have to know.
Oh yeah. But why Cast decided to go like 3 laps until the end of the race when he was leading that race? Just for the fresh pair of intermediates. Like, there's no chance that he will break through within like 6 drivers in front of him and go back for the P1. It's not the time for thinking about the strategy. Just we have 3 laps to go and we have a pure chaos on the track right now.
I think it's one of those things, too, that the track is rapidly drying now. So if he had stayed on wet weather tires, it would have been... He probably would have dropped all the way to the back of the grid. So it's kind of a compromise, and I think Cashy does have enough pace to be able to make some passes quick. Unfortunately, the P2, P1 that he was in isn't unobtainable, but is going to be more difficult. But depending on what happens with Gragson, Ignis, and Buchik, I mean, he's guaranteed at least 3 positions, I believe, and could possibly find himself on the podium, depending on how long the safety car is out and how much the track dries out in these next couple of laps. Because I would say safety car is going to have to come in next lap in order to have 2 laps of racing.
I don't know why, but I have a feeling that the rest of wet drivers right now, so it will be Buchek, Ignash, and Gragson, will be struggling so much on the wet compound because it's not raining that much anymore, and track is so, as you mentioned, it's drying so fast, and I don't believe that the wet compound will be the best one, but I believe they decide to just not going for another pit and change the tires once again because they will lose much more than probably they will decide to stay on the track. So I also don't know what is going on. Bartos just like slips and he overtake like 3 drivers. Never mind, just let's focus on finishing that race.
Yeah, that was really weird, though. I saw that, too. I'm not sure what happened. Tazo is in a very prime position to win this race, though. We do have to agree on that. Tazo finds himself in a very good position here coming up towards the end. I'm trying to see where things go and how this is going to go. At the moment, the big winner is going to be... Kashti is up 12 places, and then John Meister has lost 13 places this race. But so big winner, big loser.
We also have to say something about the McLaren drivers. Maybe in real life today's race in Bahrain, McLaren didn't go so well. But right now, Nota were almost all current race in like P17 to P14. But right now he's placing himself on the P6. So also a very, very good maneuver and very good strategy for Nota right now, and also Bartos with 1 point on the P10, so really important points for McLaren drivers and for the Constructor Championship.
Absolutely, and it's going to prove essential for them in their battle in the midfield. They're currently 2 points behind AlphaTauri in the Constructors Championship, so that every point they can gather is going to be extremely important for them. You can see here Tazo putting a lot of pressure on Gragson. That's the Aston Martin safety car coming around the horseshoe right now as we wait and see. Now we're going to pick up with Gragson and Tazo and Ignis as Gragson's waiting here to take the field back under green flag, running for just 2 laps. You can see Tazo giving no room, staying right on the rear wing of Gragson. We know Gragson knows how to do good restarts though. So we'll see how things go here. We're going to have 2 laps of action to finish this race off. Come sink or swim. If you're a fish, you're in water right now. If you're a Gragson, you're under a lot of pressure. We're back underway. 2 laps to go here in the split 1 race here at Circuit of the Americas. You can see already Ignis putting a lot of pressure on Tazo as well. Tazo dives on the brakes real late inside turn 1. Ignis is going to try to dive in as well. Look at Ignis there on the inside. We're 3 wide going into the S's in the first sector. And now Ignis is going to swap back here, try to put some pressure on Gragson. Buchik on the wet tires as well. And P4 is trying to put pressure. But Tazo comes through victorious and is going to take off running with it. And now as we watch here as they come through into the first sector, starting, there goes Maddie putting the pressure on Buchik. Intermediate tires really are picking up. We've got yellow flags. That is Bernard, who has been lost in the back of the first sector. So that, unfortunately, for that Mercedes may be all she wrote. As we watch, there's a battle between Debe and Matouche in the background as we watch Kashti and Maddie battle here, trying to chase down Buchik. And that is Debe straight into the wall, coming out of turn 11. I think Debe may have caught that, but that is the Williams as well dropping back out of the points now. Kashti, Noda, Maddie battling here. You can see Noda trying to swap around. That is going to be a big battle there. Buchik up into P4 here. Buchik being found under a lot of pressure here. Wet tires versus intermediates. Kashti getting around him on the inside here, going through turn 13, and that is going to be Buchik down a place. Now Maddie's got to put the pressure in and try to find a place as well and move that Red Bull up further into the points paying places. Maddie is going to be going around here. Is he going to be aggressive enough to put some pressure here on the Haas driver? The Haas, you can see, so slow through the horseshoe. And here we go. Maddie trying to hold on to it. Syntax, I think this is all she wrote for the wet weather tires, but Maddie, snap of oversteer, might actually lose out to Matoush here, because I think Buchik and Matoush are playing a little bit of the team game.
Yeah, I believe that Buchik will be trying to hold a little bit Mate for Mateusz, but we still have to wait. Right now, Dormati is trying to attack the inside. Mate is outside. Very good exit from Mate. Right now, he's in front of Dormati, but Mateusz is not taking that down. He just jumped in front of Mate just before the turn. Right now, just look how Buchik just passing by the Mateusz. Right now, what is going on? Mate have a sandwich between the Ignas Varnas and Buchik, but somehow he still managed to live and he is still holding P5. I'm not sure what is going on. John Meister currently on the P11 X-Reg, and John, there's a JJ, and I believe there was a contact, and JJ just crashed himself on the wall. So a very bad race for both of Williams' drivers.
Alfa Romeo has completely lost this race. Ignis staying out on the wets. John Meister on the intermediates, just not able to get traction here. Noda and Buchik battling it out to the line here. Slipstream for Buchik as he goes down. Is he going to be able to get past Noda? I think he's going to have to settle in. You can see Ignis just getting completely swallowed up. Ignis is now outside of the points, running severely wide though. Kashti 3.9 seconds back. Tazo smooth sailing to the end here. Graxent on the wet weather tires here, battling for P5. Maddie's up into P4 now. So Graxent trying to do his best to salvage points there for Ferrari as we go through. But this scrap for the last of the points paying places is pure carnage. JJ getting knocked out, Debe getting knocked out. Ignis running severely wide in the first sector and then rejoining in front of other drivers. Pure chaos, but Tazo does bring it across the line and wins it. He smashes it into the wall at the very end. Mateusz P2, and then that was
Muddy.
That was weird. Tazo backing up into the way of Mateusz there. Maddie P3, Kashti P4, Graxent P5. Graxent's cars sitting on the start-finish straight. Extract P6, Noda P7, John Meister P8, Debe P8, Debe P9, Buchik P10, Maverick 11, Barthez 12, Bernard, Ignis, and last but not least is going to be JJ, who is doing donuts in the final corner, just trying to get it across the line here.
We love JJ that you are always making us so much entertainment.
Tazo and Graxent are currently sitting with their cars completely destroyed on the start-finish straight. I don't know what happened to those two, but that was a weird finish to this race.
So that will be all. Kashi definitely deserves the driver of the day. What he managed to do today, it was unbelievable, and it was a really, really interesting race. But the conditions always get us, makes us nervous, I will say.
Absolutely. The changing conditions are when things get very chaotic, and I feel like we've had weather in nearly every single week in at least one of each split. So it's been really interesting to watch. Of course, double Red Bull podium with a Haas in the mix as well. This was a weird race, Syntax. This was a weird race, and we still have 3 weeks to go. We've got Singapore, Austria, and Brazil. So we're 3/4 of the way through the season. We just got to survive the next couple of weeks. Syntax, it's been fun as always.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to commentate, as always, with you.
All right, everyone. So with the pure carnage that happened there at the end with all of the things, that is going to be how we end this week here in US GP at Circuit of the Americas. Join us next week for Singapore, which should be a bit of a longer race. So if you like the longer races, this is going to be the one for you next week. As always, I'm joined by Syntax. My name is Brad. It's a pleasure as always, and we'll see you next week. And it looks like Noda is going to be your winner of this Portuguese Grand Prix.
Broski is your champion. JJ splits the middle, gets past both drivers.